1. Daniel's selection and training. When Jerusalem was conquered by Babylon, King Nebuchadnezzar ordered that promising young men from noble families be taken into captivity. Daniel was among those selected because of his intelligence, good appearance, and potential for leadership. He, along with others, was brought into the king's court to be trained in Babylonian language, literature, and customs. This training lasted 3 years, during which Daniel was expected to adopt Babylonian ways. However, even in a foreign culture, Daniel remained deeply rooted in his Hebrew faith. His selection marks the beginning of his journey, showing that God can use individuals even in the most unexpected circumstances. 2. Refusal to defile himself. Soon after entering the king's court, Daniel faced a moral challenge. The royal food and wine provided to the trainees were likely associated with idolatrous practices, making them unclean according to Jewish law. Daniel resolved not to defile himself by consuming them. Instead, he requested a diet of vegetables and water. Although this request risked displeasing the king, Daniel approached the matter with wisdom and respect. God granted him favor with the officials, and after a trial period, Daniel and his friends appeared healthier than those who ate the royal provisions. This incident highlights Daniel's commitment to purity and obedience. Third gift of knowledge and dream. Interpretation. God blessed Daniel and his 3 friends, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, with knowledge and understanding of all kinds of literature and learning. Daniel, in particular, was given the special ability to understand visions and interpret dreams. This divine gift set him apart from his peers and eventually brought him into the presence of powerful rulers. Dream interpretation was highly valued in Babylonian culture, and Daniel's abilities quickly gained attention. His God-given talents were not for personal glory, but to reveal God's will and authority to pagan kings. Daniel's gift emphasized the idea that true wisdom and insight come from God alone. Fourth interpretation of Nebuchadnezzar's dream. One of Daniel's first major tests came when King Nebuchadnezzar had a troubling dream that none of his wise men could explain. Daniel prayed to God for insight and was given the dream's meaning. He described a great statue made of various materials, symbolizing successive kingdoms that would rise and fall. The statue's destruction by a divine rock foretold God's everlasting kingdom. Daniel's accurate interpretation amazed Nebuchadnezzar and led to Daniel being promoted to a high position. This event demonstrated God's sovereignty over human history and established Daniel's reputation as a true prophet among the greatest leaders of his time. 5. Fiery furnace and friends' deliverance. Although this event focuses on Daniel's friends, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, it is deeply connected to Daniel's story. When Nebuchadnezzar commanded everyone to worship a golden statue, Daniel's friends refused to bow, staying loyal to God. As punishment, they were thrown into a blazing furnace. Miraculously, they were unharmed, and a fourth figure, described as like a son of the gods, appeared with them. Their survival astonished the king, leading him to acknowledge the power of their God. This event reinforced Daniel's own faith and showed that God protects those who remain faithful, even when faced with certain death. 6. Nebuchadnezzar's second dream and madness. Later, King Nebuchadnezzar had another disturbing dream involving a massive tree that was cut down. Daniel was called to interpret it. He explained that the tree represented the king himself, who would be humbled by God due to his pride. Nebuchadnezzar would live like a wild animal until he acknowledged God's sovereignty. As predicted, the king went mad, living outside among animals, until he finally praised the Most High. Daniel's courage in delivering such a bold message to a powerful ruler illustrates his integrity and faithfulness. It also highlights the biblical principle that pride leads to downfall, while humility brings restoration. 7. The writing on the wall. During the reign of King Belshazzar, Daniel faced another critical moment. At a lavish feast, the king mocked God by using sacred temple vessels. Suddenly, a mysterious hand appeared and wrote words on the palace wall. None of the wise men could interpret it, but Daniel was summoned. With boldness, he explained that the message, Mene, Mene, Tekel, Parsin, meant that God had numbered Belshazzar's days, weighed his reign, found it wanting, and decreed its end. That very night, Babylon fell to the Persians. This event further confirmed that God holds the fate of nations in his hands and uses his servants to deliver his judgment. One of the most famous episodes in Daniel's life occurred when his political enemies conspired against him. They tricked King Darius into signing a law that prohibited prayer.
Despite regime changes, Daniel remained a trusted leader under multiple kings and even different empires, including the Medes and Persians. His reputation for wisdom, honesty, and an excellent spirit made him indispensable. Under King Darius, Daniel was appointed as one of the highest officials to oversee the kingdom. His consistent character in a corrupt political environment is remarkable. Even as jealousy grew among rivals, Daniel's integrity was unshakable. His story teaches that godly character transcends political shifts and that faithfulness in small things often leads to greater responsibilities. Daniel's life serves as a model for leadership based on righteousness and trust. The Lion's Den. One of the most famous episodes in Daniel's life occurred when his political enemies conspired against him. They tricked King Darius into signing a law that prohibited prayer to any god or man except the king for 30 days. Knowing the consequences, Daniel continued his daily prayers to God openly. He was arrested and thrown into a den of lions. However, God shut the lions' mouths, and Daniel emerged unharmed the next morning. This miraculous deliverance led King Darius to issue a decree honoring Daniel's God. The story powerfully illustrates God's protection over his faithful servants and the triumph of faith over fear. 10. Visions of future kingdoms and the Messiah. In the later chapters of the book of Daniel, he receives extraordinary visions about the future of world empires and the coming of an everlasting kingdom. These visions include symbolic imagery, such as beasts representing different kingdoms and the prophecy of the Son of Man coming with divine authority. Daniel foresaw the rise and fall of major empires like Persia, Greece, and Rome, and he hinted at the coming of the Messiah. Although many of the details puzzled even Daniel himself, his visions are crucial for biblical prophecy. They reaffirm that